Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spiritual Mastery for Lightworkers. Tonight's episode and masterclass is an online masterclass that talks about, is your brain listening? And when I wrote this, I was feeling the entire time that my brain was actually overactive and it wasn't really listening to what I wanted it to listen to. And so I went for walks, I meditated, and I tried to get into the feeling of what I really wanted to say in this spiritual mastery class. And that's when I started to feel a little bit more about what was important. And at the same time, I couldn't help but bring the science aspect into things, the intellectual aspect, to sort of balance out the experience for what's happening in the brain. And so we have a bit of a combination tonight, a little bit of science and a little bit of spirituality, and a bringing together of those two aspects for your spiritual mastery class tonight. So thank you again for being here. Just before we get started, I wanted to set the intention and also let you know what is happening here. We have a live call. If you are listening to this recording, you've missed the live opportunity of being able to participate with other people who are on the same journey. However, I would like to also let you know that I'm also available. So if you find this recording on YouTube or on my website and you would like to reach out to me, contact information is available at the end of the slideshow. Expect time for meditation. Expect time to be able to write in your journal. If you brought something to write with, that would be great. I'll be asking some questions and asking you if you would like to participate, and that is always optional. So as participants in this class, we agree to honor time and space for ourselves and for other participants, and to be respectful of opinions and states of being for everyone who is participating. And we are all somewhere on the path, on our own journeys. We come from different experiences, backgrounds, and with different skills. So let's all agree to be open, honest, and respectful of this confidential time. And we also honor your choice to be a listener and a silent participant. And if you are listening, I'm assuming you might be muted, but just say yes and agree in your mind that you agree to all of those statements. So take a moment now to connect with your breath and feel your feet on the floor, turning off distractions, phones and televisions, for a very short intention. I call upon guides and teachers, the Creator, the universe, spirit guides of 100% pure love and light to be present tonight and for all time and space for this mastery class, the spiritual mastery class, honoring the individuality, the sovereignty, and time and space of each individual who is listening, that each person receives exactly what they need to hear, to be inspired, to become more, and the highest expression of themselves in physical form. Thank you. Thank you for these blessings. All right, so we go to the heart-brain relationship. We talked last time about the heart-brain relationship a little bit in our last month's mastery class. And In the heart-brain relationship, we discovered a little bit about the anatomy of the heart and the physiology of the heart and the brain, and that the heart forms first in the body. When you are an embryo, the heart begins beating before the brain forms and the neural network forms. And once the brain develops, it seems to take over not only the direction of the body functions, but also the responsibility for thinking, doing, and being. In fact, the brain is so highly valued for intellect that as a culture, we give brain priority. In schools, we value intelligence over intuition. And we value how smart somebody is and their performance over anything that seems to be on the softer side. So I would like to ask, first of all, the question, have we really tapped into our highest potential as humans, accessing the fullest potential of the brain? Because the brain isn't just a thinking thing, not a thinking, solely thinking part of the human body. There's actually so much we don't know about the brain. As science continues to explore energetic aspects of the brain, we find out that certain parts of the brain are triggered when thinking and problem solving, and other parts of the brain are triggered for meditation. And even that is only skimming the surface, because we don't know what aspects of the brain are responsible for psychic abilities or astral travel or dream consciousness and lucid dreaming. We don't know all of these things. And could there be something else in another dimension, even perhaps other aspects of our soul that are recorded in the brain or held in the brain in some way, and we just don't know. So what we're working with today is a little bit about what we do know and what has been revealed through some research, as well as some exploration of what we feel and what we know personally about ourselves. So when I ask, have we really tapped into our highest potential as humans, I certainly don't feel like I have. I know that I'm a baby when it comes to my psychic abilities and my healing abilities, and yet I am Reiki Master Shaman and certified in many modalities of healing, sound healing and loving all of the aspects of nature. As a biology teacher, a former biology teacher, I understood the scientific value of all of the things that were presented to us through research. And now I know, of course, I can't remember who said this, but the more we know, the more we realize we don't know, right? So that's why I say I'm just a baby here. I am enjoying the learning process, and I would love to share with you a little bit more about the brain and listening. Is your brain listening to what you really want and what is going on? What's holding us back from optimal health? What's holding us back from prosperity and abundance? Because certainly there are many people in the world who are not healthy. There are many people in the world who feel like they just don't have prosperity. There's no money coming in, and there's no perceived value in what they do. So what's holding people back from that? We'll get to that in a little bit. And what's slowing down our intuitive nature and connection to everything we want or want to know? Is there something actually slowing us down? Are we getting in our own way when we're trying to connect with the fullest potential of who we are? So I'd like you to now have your paper and pen handy. I'd like to start with a few questions. The first one, when or under what circumstances are you most effective in your work? So just make a few notes now, and I'll open up the line, or you can unmute yourself later to talk about these things. So just make a few notes. When or under what circumstances are you most effective in your work? So we're just talking about work. When are you most effective? Second question. When do you feel most intuitive? When do you feel most intuitive? That could be when you're doing a particular activity, a certain time of day. When do you feel most intuitive? Or are you feeling intuitive at all? And if so, when? When do you feel the most joy? Or under what circumstances do you feel the most joy? Next question. When do you perceive abundance? When do you notice it? When are you feeling it? When do you feel like there's abundance around you? When do you have abundance? What circumstances? Last question. When do you feel the healthiest? When do you feel the healthiest? Or under what circumstances do you feel the healthiest? Or did you feel the healthiest if you're not feeling healthy now? I'm going to pause there for a moment, and if you would like to participate in answering these questions or discussing them, let's open up the line and see what you have to say. You can pick any of the questions and share anything you would like.
I'll share mine.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Hi.
Sorry about that. I was unmuting myself.
That's okay. I'm here. I'm patient.
Would you like to answer all the questions or just the first?
Whatever you want to answer. How would you like to contribute to the conversation?
So, when I feel most effective in my work, the first thing that I wrote down was when I'm under pressure.
Really? When you're under pressure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like which that surprised me a bit, but it was like, yeah, when I'm under pressure, needing for meeting a deadline.
What do you consider to be effective?
Completing the task.
Okay, completing the task is your definition of effective, right?
It is.
Okay.
At this moment. Yes.
Okay. All right, completing the task. And I know for you, time is filled up with a lot of different activities, right? So completing the task for you is being effective, because if you don't complete the task, there are a lot of animals who don't get fed, right?
Yes.
And a lot of calls that don't get made and all of that. So you feel most effective when you are under pressure because it's important to complete the task. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Good. All right. That's one one perspective. Did you want to also pick another one of those questions and contribute?
So, when do I feel most intuitive?
Uh-huh.
It's not a time, but when my mind is calm,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I feel most intuitive. As you know, like with me getting headaches, I feel like that I'm trying to receive an intuitive message, and that's sort of the hammer saying, calm your mind, pay attention.
Mm-hmm. So you have an internal signal of some sort that lets you know when to connect with calmness in order to be intuitive.
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel like you're intuitive if you're not calm? Tough question, right?
It is a tough question.
Uh-huh.
Because some of my messages also come through dreams.
Uh-huh. Are you calm in your dream?
That was what I was just asking myself. Am I calm in my?
Uh-huh.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Uh-huh. Okay. But you are most intuitive when you are calm. And yet you feel you are also intuitive when you are not necessarily calm. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So maybe that's all the time.
It could be all the time. When are you most aware of your intuitive ability?
During those calm times.
During calm. Mm-hmm.
During calm. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
We'll come back to you.
Okay.
And Marcy, would you care to contribute?
Yeah, it was interesting thinking of the questions. I think the hardest question was, when do you feel most joy?
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard one to answer.
Mm. Why was that a hard question to answer?
Because you think of the first thing in my mind with joy was the typical laughter, bubbly, happy moments. But then you can also find joy when it's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was like, when do I find? Of course, I find it when it's something really funny and it's like a response, that type of joy that's built unexpectedly, instantaneously or unexpectedly. But then there's joy in the quiet and the slow and the small accomplishments too. So yeah.
That's interesting because joy, where do you feel joy? If you had to put your hand somewhere on your body that would indicate, this is my joy center, where is it?
The heart.
So your joy center is heart, and the way you feel joy or the way you express joy, one or the other, or both, could be laughing out loud, bubbly, rolling over, hysterical, and it could be the small, quiet things and a sense of accomplishment that allow you to feel joy, right?
Yeah.
But it all seems to be heart-centered, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Okay, good. And I like that you included both. That's good. What about abundance? Anybody have any thoughts on abundance? Do you feel like there's abundance?
I do. When I think of my personal idea of abundance, I see it everywhere, all around me, all the time, and grateful for it. And then when I perceive a societal view of abundance, that's where the vibration changes.
Yeah. How does it change? What do you feel is the societal view of abundance?
A monetary-based, educational-based. It just it triggers insecurity, insignificance, that type of thought.
I think you should run the webinar. You know, abundance is one of those situations that come, I'm calling it a situation, but it's so much more than that, feeling, perception that people do associate with money, and then they start to get a little squirmy, right? Because they do get insecure, because this abundance to them equals money. And it really isn't about money, is it?
Mm-mm.
No, it isn't. It's about an energy. It's about a flow. And just, you know, money could be the energy, or happiness could be the energy of abundance, or food, or shelter, or spirituality. What's that?
I said our butterflies.
Or butterflies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, or water. You know, if you're in the desert, you might perceive a lack of water as a lack of abundance, right? And yet the abundance is also in the cacti and the rocks and everywhere. So abundance is a concept that people associate often with cash. And you know, how much do they have in the bank and or in their wallet, and how much is coming to them, and what kind of house do they live in? And no, it's really not about that. And as soon as people change their idea of what abundance is, you know, their definition of abundance, then everything else can change too. It's these ruts that people get stuck into. What about the healthy one? Let's touch upon that. When do you feel the healthiest? I'm assuming you do feel healthy, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I feel the healthiest when I'm eating healthy.
Uh-huh. Okay, so choosing live food over processed food, perhaps?
Yes.
That kind of eating healthy?
That kind of eating healthy.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I would agree to that.
Yeah, and your body feels different when you're eating processed foods, right?
Very.
Yes.
Yeah, totally different. For the people who are sensitive to how they feel, then there's more conscious choosing involved in what they are choosing to eat. Oh, I can't eat that. I don't feel good when I eat that. Or I want to eat that because I feel good when I eat that. And knowing the difference between feeling healthy and good and not feeling healthy and not feeling good based on what you're eating, where it's not an emotional thing or a sugar high perhaps, but more of a feeling the energy connection of what you're eating, a whole food as opposed to a processed food. Okay, that's great. I like to know that I feel healthiest after I've done some yoga. I feel really good after that because I know I don't eat very much before I go. I have a date or a couple of walnuts, some live food, and a liquid supplement, goji juice of some sort, and then my body moves in a particular way, and I get my spine all realigned, and I get my muscles all flexible, and that's when I feel the healthiest. I just love that feeling. I don't feel that way when I'm sitting in front of a computer. I don't feel that way when I'm in a stressful situation. And so I try as much as possible to fit in time where I can feel the healthiest. And that's an important part of where we're going here in this webinar tonight. Good. Thank you for your participation. I know it's not always easy to do that, especially when these can be intimate questions. All right, so limitations of the brain. We do have limitations, and the limitations of the brain can be based on things we've learned thoughts and behaviors, We went to school at a very early age, and we were told to get in line and sit here and read this and do that and think this way. We were also perhaps given the belief systems of other authority figures, parents, teachers, other adults, usually adults, and the belief systems of our culture are given to us. And so these become ingrained along with habits and patterns. They become ingrained in the brain. And what happens is that the brain feels limited. Oh, I can't do that, or I'm not supposed to go there, or this is bad for me to do, I shouldn't do that. And as a result, we create habits and patterns based on the beliefs and the learned behavior that come forth as limitations. And these limitations make deep grooves in the brain, physical grooves, real grooves, like a record groove. A pattern that is etched over and over and over again becomes a neural pathway. And the belief becomes so strong in some people that that's all there is those deep neural pathway grooves. So the limitations of the brain as opposed to the wisdom of the heart. The wisdom of the heart means that your actions and your responses are driven by emotion rather than thought, that your beliefs are unhindered by judgment, that your conscious choices are in alignment to good, whatever good is. Good, you take one O out and you've got God, and that's where the word good comes from, or the word God comes from good perhaps. And that patterns reflect the rhythms rather than the ruts. So I mentioned the ruts that happen in your brain. That's a real thing, a physiological thing, those grooves that form in the neural pathways. But if you're working with the wisdom of the heart, you have more of a rhythm rather than a rut. And let me show you what that looks like. So a few keywords for tonight on our webinar. The first one is coherence. Coherence is a logical, orderly, and harmonious connectedness between parts of a system or between people. So if you have coherence, for example, in parts of your body, it means that they're all working together and they're connected to each other. It's not the brain being separate from the heart or the heart being separate from the lungs. Everything is connected. Everything in the body knows what everything else is doing, and there's coherence. Heart coherence is a state of harmony where the heart and mind work in sync and we feel a genuine connection to others as a result. It's a balanced partnership in the interactions between heart, mind, emotions, and physiology. We're not just talking about parts of the body and the psychology of it, but also the physiology. How does your harmony, your state of harmony in your heart and your mind show up in physical form? What is your health like? What is your abundance like? What is your prosperity like? That's also the physiology of your existence. Trauma is a physical or emotional wound or injury that is held and maintained in the body. Now, trauma is also something that can be held deep in the body, in the cellular structure of your body, chemically as well as emotionally. Another key word for you, heart rate variability, HRV, is the naturally occurring variation in the time between each and every pair of heartbeats. So if you hold your fingertips to your throat so you can feel your heartbeat, or to your heart, wherever you want to feel it. And you've got the lub-dub, the lub-dub. So the space between the beats changes. The length of time between the beats changes. And people who have a pacemaker have a constant rate for their heart rate. That's how it's set with a pacemaker. But in a normal person, a normal healthy person without a pacemaker, the heart will beat differently, more rapidly, more slowly. So we're not looking at the strength of the beat, we're looking at the variation between the beats of the heart. And this is the code. It's like a Morse code that the heart uses to communicate with the brain and with the body. It's that space between the heartbeats that is the communication, the way the heart communicates with the brain. So heart rate variability is important. In a healthy person, heart rate varies a lot. In a younger, healthy person, it varies a lot, and that's normal. In an older person, there's less variability, less change. Entrainment is the final word here for the keywords. Entrainment is an aspect of coherence. We talked about coherence being the connectedness between parts of the body and with each other. Entrainment is an aspect of that. It's a state in which two or more of the body systems, such as respiration, brain waves, and heart rhythm patterns, become in sync and operate at the same frequency. So if the heart is in sync with the brain, they're working together, there's going to be a beautiful rhythm and a beautiful frequency that can be shown mathematically. So here, if you're looking at the diagram, the mathematical expression in the bottom part of the picture of the heart rate, with the feeling of appreciation, looks like a very what's the word I'm looking for? My brain isn't working apparently. I'm speaking with my heart here tonight. The feeling of appreciation looks smoother, more rhythmic, up, down, almost like a sine wave, whereas the upper diagram expressing frustration shows a heart rate that is more jagged, less in sync. And the mathematical expression of this is a lot easier to express with appreciation, and the heart can speak to the brain. The brain will be able to listen to appreciation. The brain, when it's listening to frustration, isn't going to be in sync with the heart. Heart coherence is when the heart's rhythms appear as smooth, ordered, sine wave-like patterns, and virtually no energy is wasted because our systems are performing optimally. Now I'm going to go back to what one of our participants said earlier, what Brianna said earlier about when she feels more effective. She feels more effective when she is under pressure, because she's got her deadlines, she needs to get everything done, she's got to complete the task, right? And in her mode of being under pressure, I'm wondering what the heart rate is like and how the heart is communicating with the brain in a person who is under pressure to complete a task. Because what we're saying here with heart coherence is that virtually no energy is wasted because our systems are performing optimally. And there's a synchronization between heart rhythms, the respiratory system, blood pressure rhythms, etc. So all of this research is done from the HeartMath Institute and a book called Heart Intelligence, Connecting with the Intuitive Guidance of the Heart. I'll send that as a follow-up in the email and in my blog post. And they say, among the many benefits of personal coherence are increased composure, more energy, clear thinking, enhanced immune system function, and hormonal balance. So all aspects of the body begin to work more efficiently. The brain also, clear thinking, works more efficiently when you're in heart coherence, when you're in appreciation, for example, over frustration, when you're in gratitude, when you're calm, when you're feeling the good feelings that are coherent with and in sync with how the heart really wants to be, how the heart wants to express itself and is always expressing itself. It's just how is the brain receiving it. So let's go into the brain a little bit. The amygdala in the brain is a part of the brain that is in the center. I'll show you a diagram. Let's go there, and then we'll come back to this other slide here. So in the center of the brain, you have all of these parts, and the amygdala is part of the limbic system of the brain. And its function, there are actually two parts to the amygdala, one on the left and one on the right. And I won't get into all of those left and right parts, but in general, the amygdala functions with a conditioned fear response. It is associative learning. In other words, we teach our amygdala what to be afraid of. We teach our amygdala about our survival, and it is conditioned to make hormones and have the brain respond in a way that will keep us safe. That's why we are in condition for fear. The fight or flight, let's go back here, fight, flight, or fear is controlled by the amygdala. And the incoherent heart rhythm pattern informs the amygdala as anger, anxiety, or stress. So we talked about coherent heart rhythm, one that is at peace, one that is in joy, one that is in appreciation or gratitude, has a coherent heart rhythm that is even and smooth like a sine wave. But an incoherent heart rhythm pattern tells the amygdala in the brain about anger, anxiety, and stress. And when the amygdala gets that incoherent heart rhythm, it's thinking fight, flight, or fear. It's tapping into memories where there was potential harm. It helps you condition yourself for fear as to what possibly to be afraid of. Oh, I'm afraid of that spider, I'm afraid of that snake, I'm afraid of flying, I'm afraid of darkness. You know, whatever it is you're afraid of, you're conditioned for it because of the incoherent heart rhythm that told the brain to be afraid of it. The amygdala is responsible for those emotional responses. And there's a close association with the heart and associative learning. So the amygdala, tiny, almost something you can forget about, right? And it has a big part in how we exist in the world and how we as spiritual light workers want to actually be. We want to be in appreciation. We want to be in gratitude. We want to be intuitive. We want to be healthy, and we want others to be healthy too, and we want them to be abundant, right? Because as light workers, we're raising the vibration of the planet. But if we're coming at it from a point of incoherence, it's not helping us, and it's creating those ruts and grooves in the brain that are well, I'll tell you in one of these slides upcoming. It's hard to get past. If you've got a rut in there, it gets a little bit calcified too. So incoherence creates a stress habit. It creates an unproductive emotional pattern. Incoherence triggers reactions. It helps you get angry. Incoherence is about being anxious and also blame. So that's incoherence. And are there times when we feel like we have a stress habit? Are there times when we feel triggered into a reaction? Somebody says something, or we get cut off while we're driving, or, you know, what is it that makes you frustrated? What makes you anxious? What makes you angry? All of those things are incoherence. They're there, they exist, and if we are paying attention to it, we're going to find them. They're there because we're not living in the fifth dimension yet. We're not 100% pure love and light who are karma-free and ancestral DNA free of trauma and all of those problems. We've got some stuff. Everybody has some stuff, and our job as spiritual light workers is to come into coherence as much as possible. So I have an exercise for you. If you're able to write, now would be a good time. I have some questions, and then we'll spend a few minutes talking about them. So let's explore the fears, ruts, and grooves of our learned behaviors and beliefs. First question: do you feel safe, protected, and loved? And I know that's a yes or no question, so I'm going to modify that a little bit. How do you feel safe, protected, and loved? Or when do you feel safe, protected, and loved? Are there times that you feel that way more than others? Next one says, are you creative? I'd like to adjust that just a little bit. In what way are you creative? In what way do you express your creativity? Next question. Do you know your life path and have a sense of what you really want? Write a few words to describe what you feel is true about your life path, knowing your life path and having a sense of what you really want. Are you open-hearted, able to give and receive love? How do you do that? How do you express your open-heartedness and your ability to give and receive love? Next question. Do you speak up and speak your personal truth? How do you do that? How do you speak up and speak your personal truth? And are there times when you don't do that? Next question. Do you have a vision of your highest potential? What does that look like? If you were to write a few words about your vision for your highest potential in this lifetime, wow, what would that be? Do you feel inspired and guided? What do you feel see or know as the highest expression of yourself? Now that's a lot of questions. Let's open the line and talk about any of these you feel inspired to talk about, because this exercise is about exploring the fears, ruts, and grooves of our learned behaviors and beliefs. So these questions are designed to get us out of the ruts. Would you like to comment on any of the questions?
Sure, I'll go first this time.
Okay.
I wasn't able to write them down, but I was answering them in my head when you were asking them. One, gosh. Expressing your creativity. That one was fun to answer. Coming as being the obvious as an artist, there's always creativity in paint. But there's creativity in anything that feeds you, I don't know, feeds your soul, feeds your joy, feeds your purpose. Creativity in growing plants, keeping your garden going. Those were thoughts that popped in my head when you asked that question.
I thought of you when I wrote that question, Marcy. Yeah, that's a great way to express creativity. A lot of people think that, oh, creativity, yeah, I don't have that, I'm not creative, because they think creativity is just for the artists, right? Just for the ones who make things. But creativity is really an expression of any kind of idea, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Anything. So where do you put your plants? How do you arrange your furniture? It's your creative space, it's your clothing, how you dress yourself, it's how clean you keep your house. You know, those are all creative aspects that a lot of people don't associate with creativity. Exactly.
And that's exactly how I actually had this conversation with someone the other day, because I always say I'm not creative. I see someone who creates something. Marcy's painting, somebody cutting a gemstone. I was like, oh man, that is so creative. I don't have a creative bone in my body. And I actually had someone say to me the other day, say, but you take care of all of those animals. And it was like, oh, I never even thought about that.
Yeah, so what is creative about taking care of your animals, Brianna?
Well, I think of my parrots and being creative with giving them foraging toys and things to do. I have to, and now talking about it, I have to have some creativity there. I have a lot of birds. I have to be creative at being, of coming up with ideas that aren't,
that are going to enrich their lives, right?
Right.
Yeah. I love the bird food mix that you made and gave Lucy some, my bird. She really enjoyed that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it took her a while because she was stuck in a rut too as to what her food should look like. And it didn't look like her regular food, that we give her all kinds of stuff, but when she tasted it, she enjoyed it. She kept going back to it.
Wonderful.
So, yeah. So it sounds like you were in a little bit of a rut on what the definition of creativity was.
Yes.
I think you're getting out of that rut now, aren't you?
I am.
Good. So, Brianna, you can say, I am creative.
Yes, I can.
What happens when a person starts saying, I am creative?
it becomes part of you.
Right. And it becomes their truth, right?
It becomes their truth, yes.
Right. So the heart, if the heart says, I am creative, and finally gets to understand it and believe it, it begins to look for ways to verify it. That's where the brain comes in. The brain is really good at following the heart. Whatever the heart is feeling, it will comply. And so if you say, I am creative, and you kind of feel ways that you might be creative, your brain will look for more evidence, and it will create a new pattern and a new habit and a new belief that will support your creativity. You will find now new ways in which you can be creative. I guarantee it. Yeah.
It makes me think of a book I saw. Somebody gifted it to me, and I forget the doctor who wrote it, but the title was "You'll See It When You Believe It."
Yeah.
It's so true.
It is so true. Yeah. Did you want to talk about any of the questions here? Do you have a vision of your highest potential? I would love to hear what you have to say about that.
I do. There was a very, I guess now, my vision of my highest potential. I just see myself in a certain place. Emotionally, it's so rock solid and it's stable, and I'm using energy work with horses with at risk. You know, I see it there. To me, I feel like that's my highest potential, to combine all aspects that give me the most joy in my soul.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow combining that. That I feel would lie in my highest potential in this lifetime.
Well, you're still very young, Marcy, right?
I know, I am.
Yeah, what about when you're 60 or 70? Is it all downhill after that? Or
No, I feel like at that point my highest potential is creating a space for anything that needs to happen in there, like healing or energy work or just being, allowing, anything like that. That is the highest potential.
Okay. So that's different from what you just told me, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I feel like it's related because I'm using tools at that stage. And then when you're older, that's the foundation part of it all. You still hold that space, that foundation, that area, that vibration.
Right, energetically, and you might not need all the tools.
Yeah.
Just because you've incorporated all the energy. Interesting. Yeah. And the reason why I threw an age out there for you is because there are stages of life that have been documented. Okay, in this part of your life, you're a child, you're born, you're a child, you go to school, you have this kind of experience. And then after school's done, you might get married, you have this kind of experience. You get a job, you have this kind of experience, right? And so there's a rut here of what people believe to be a behavior or a vision of their highest potential for that stage of their life. And I would like you to explore going beyond any age, going beyond any limitation that the brain may offer. Because the brain will automatically offer, oh, you don't have any money for that. Or the brain might say, oh, you can't do that. You don't know enough people. You don't have the resources. Do you see what I'm saying? So if anybody is saying, okay, this is my vision, or I feel, or I see, or I know this is my highest potential, I will come back to you and say, based on what? Based on what you know right now in this moment? Based on what your brain says you can do or not do? Based on what your finances are? Based on your age? Yeah. So the brain is going to be the limiting factor in the highest potential category. And if you choose not to have the brain being a limiting behavior or a limiting factor in achieving your highest potential, then we need to have a different tool. We need to have a different way, right? Yeah. You want to know what that is?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Good. Me too. Okay, no, I have it here. I've got it, right. So were there any other questions that you wanted to talk about here? When do you feel inspired and guided, or do you know your life path and have a sense of what you really want? I think we touched upon some of those, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to some answers here. How to achieve heart coherence. This is how you bypass the limitations of the brain. The limitations of the brain are the ruts and grooves and the belief systems and the habits and the fears that actually exist as physiological structures in the brain. Fears, limitations, calcifications, neuropathways, they're there. And they're not just in the brain, they're in every cell in the body. The chemicals that hold the emotions of fears and limitations are in every cell of the body because they've all been talking to each other your whole life. Your brain has been telling your cells in your body what memories to store. And the memories are stored in the cell membranes in little chemicals that remember everything. So here's how we get around it. We go for heart coherence. Remember in the beginning, I talked about what coherence was. And coherence is that connectedness. What did I say it was? It was a connection between all the parts in the body, especially between the heart and the brain. And entrainment means that all of the parts that are talking to each other are in sync. The rhythm of your breath will help dictate and sync up with the rhythm of your brain waves. You can change your brain waves to be calmer, dreamlike, more intuitive, with your breath, with heart coherence. So as spiritual light workers, learning to be more intuitive, learning to be more tapped in, more visionary, more creative, more abundant, more all of the things that we talked about means tapping into heart coherence. And it also means that we need to learn how to self-regulate. We need to know how to respond moment to moment. Remember we talked about heart rhythm variance, the space between each heartbeat has a rhythm. It has, it's supposed to have a variation, and it can be fast, it can be slow, there can be a wide space between heartbeats. The point is that the heart should beat in a particular rhythm, and it should be a smooth rhythm, and when that happens, it's going to affect the brain. It's going to affect the amygdala in the brain. And self-regulating behavior, knowing how we respond to certain triggers, does matter. So that means we have to take charge in the heat of the moment to override the groove or the rut created by the habit, the learned behavior, or the beliefs. We have to recognize it. We have to be aware of it and say, oh, when this happens, that's a trigger for me. When somebody says this, or whenever this situation occurs, that's a trigger. It affects how you feel. It changes the rhythm of your heart to be not smooth. It changes it to be erratic, like that picture I showed you with frustration, jagged, not smooth. And that tells the amygdala, oh, make that groove a little deeper. Make that rut a little deeper. So if you're able to change that and take charge in the heat of the moment, not just walk away and then settle down, not just walk away and then calm down. It's right there in the moment to stand in your presence and be who you are in your spiritual mastery as a light worker and take charge. It means increasing resilience, emotional flexibility, adaptability, memory, and the ability to focus with heart-centered breathing. Now, breathing is an important aspect of this because the lungs and the heart are so connected. Energetically, they're both in the heart chakra. Physiologically, they work together, with blood moving toward the lungs to get oxygen, blood moving back to the heart to be pumped into all parts of the body. They are intimately connected. And so when the heart is beating really fast, the lungs are going to be moving faster. You're going to be breathing faster, right? So if you can slow down your breathing, could you slow down your heart rate too? Yeah, you can do that. So notice that if you're in fight, flight, or fear, one of the first things to happen in fight, flight, or fear, the amygdala is saying, heart, beat faster. Lungs, breathe faster. That's the amygdala trying to help save your life. Because you never know what's out there in the dark or hiding behind the bush, right? That's our survival mechanism. But if you take charge in the heat of the moment and have a sustained calmness, then your breathing will be different, your heart rate will be different, and you're going to be erasing those ruts and grooves to make something a little bit more compatible with, not just compatible, but coherent with the heart. And that's when you get psychic abilities. That's when you get efficiency. That's when you get no wasted energy. That's when you get ideas. That's when you get abundance, prosperity, health, joy, and all of it. Heart coherence. Now here's how you do it. You have to establish a new baseline. Remember, in the very beginning of the webinar, we talked about trauma. Trauma comes from injury, wound perhaps, or stress. Some kind of emotional trauma can be a baseline where the body responds or reacts with that baseline memory and feeling. And when you have that baseline stress, then your heart becomes incoherent. It becomes like the frustrated, jagged heartbeat line that I showed you earlier. So you need to create a new baseline. If your baseline is peaceful and not stressed, the heart becomes coherent. So without establishing a new baseline, it's nearly impossible to sustain a desired psychological or behavioral change. You need a new baseline. How do you react in certain situations? Are you functioning under pressure? And what's your heart doing when you're functioning under pressure? Are you hearing words come at you in a way that feel angry or judgmental? And how do you feel about that? Is your self-worth being questioned? Are you feeling small or unworthy or not enough? Are you feeling angry? If that's your baseline, then it's going to be more challenging, almost impossible, to sustain peace, calm, and heart coherence. Are you following me on this? This is critical to taking the next step. So we have some tools. Meditation and breathing are wonderful tools. I would also say essential oils are fantastic tools because essential oils talk to the emotional part of the brain, talk to the limbic system of the brain, and connect you instantly to emotions. Because when you were a child and you were smelling the flowers, or you were out in nature, or you were smelling the earth and feeling connected to nature, you were inhaling smells. And those smells are still there in your memory, in the limbic system of your brain. So if you're going to use essential oils, you can connect instantly to those memories and go to that feeling that you had when you first experienced being in joy or feeling peace or having fun or feeling safe, feeling grounded. Cinnamon, did you ever have the smell of cinnamon and cloves around the holidays? Did you feel loved when you smelled that? Did you feel like everything was coming your way? Cinnamon and clove can help you feel that way again. So using essential oils can be an important tool for overriding that rut and that groove in the brain. Affirmations are also very helpful tools. We're going to spend some time with affirmations in a few minutes. Also sound. Sound can be a very effective tool for overriding fear and doubt and judgment and noise, because when you're using sound that feels good to you, like a solfeggio frequency, certain frequencies that bring magic and transformation or help you feel grounded or help you connect to the divine, sound in very specific frequencies can override those ruts and grooves as well. So you can begin to shift away from those patterns more towards the coherent ones with the heart. So right now, just find some space around you that is free from interruption and external noise. And I'm just going to give you a few affirmations with this brief meditation. It's almost not a meditation. It's so brief. And I would just like to go through these very quickly with you, starting with your breath. Inhale and exhale a couple times, feeling your feet on the floor. Feeling your breath in your body. And saying to yourself, I am safe, I am secure. And noticing where you feel that in your body. Feeling grounded and protected, feeling safe. I am safe, I am secure. I have enough. Another breath. I am loved. I am enough. I experience abundance and joy in my life. Another breath. I am worthy. I am open to and trust my deepest insights. I am confident. I know who I am. I am powerful. Another breath. I forgive myself and others. I open my heart to love. I easily give and receive love. My heart expands inside me and brings joy to every part of my body. Another breath. I speak truthfully and trust my creativity. There is power in my voice, and what I say has value. Another breath. I am clear. I am open to my intuition. I trust in the highest and greatest good. My dreams envision me in my highest potential. And with ease and grace, I accept my own intuition as true and correct. Another breath. I am divinely protected and guided. The source of love is within me. I am connected to all that is, and I enjoy myself as a sovereign, whole being of love and light. Take another breath. And reconnect to your awareness in this time and space, offering gratitude for the wisdom of this guided meditation with affirmations. Come back to your awareness now. Notice where in your body do you feel the most powerful? Where in your body do you feel the most intuitive? Where do you feel the most healthy and the most abundant? As you begin to do these affirmations on your own, notice the changes that happen to you in your physiology, where you feel all of these affirmations integrating with your current state. And make notes of how you feel in a week, in a month, in 2 months. as you do these affirmations on a regular basis. I'd like to offer you an opportunity to connect with the tools that can bring about heart coherence. And my offer is this. It's for only 3 people who get back to me as quickly as possible. It is for a session, an hour session with me, either in person or remotely. The session would include scanning, energy scanning. It would include balancing and sound healing. It would include essential oils and crystals and customized affirmations for you to help you transition toward a new baseline. So the scanning would help reveal some of your belief systems, and you would be given new affirmations along with these tools to help you move toward a new baseline for heart coherence. And this offer is $45 for 1 hour to do that kind of work, again, distance or in person. And that's a limited time. It's just for the first 3 people to contact me. So I give that to you from my heart to yours, because we are coherent. You're listening to this and you're participating with this, and I just love that you are here, and I appreciate you. I appreciate this offer that I can make to you as well. And I'd like to thank everybody who was on the call tonight or who is listening to this Spiritual Mastery webinar. We've been at this for a little while, not quite 90 minutes, but I would like to ask if there are any closing remarks before I close the channel. So open your line if you would like to contribute any final remarks or questions, and then I will close the channel. Or did I make you too sleepy with a guided meditation? I might have, right?
I feel very relaxed.
Oh, good. You'll sleep well tonight.
I will.
Good. Thank you for that. I'm glad you are relaxed, because when you're relaxed, what's your heart doing?
Not using energy to do what it needs to do.
Yeah, it's being coherent, right?
Yes.
So remember how you feel in this moment. You know, those words were given to me once by a massage therapist when I had this amazing, beautiful, wonderful massage where I felt completely relaxed and at ease. I felt just so blessed. And she said, remember how you feel in this moment. And I took that feeling with me and I stuffed it in all my cells. And it was so, so easy for me to go there for the following weeks. I was able to remember exactly that feeling. So remember how you feel in this moment after that meditation. And take that with you to bring your heart into coherence with your brain, because you do want your brain to listen, right? You don't want it to have a mind of its own. You want it to listen to your heart, because your heart has intelligence that your brain does not have. You have to teach your brain from the center of your heart. Any other closing remarks or questions?
Thank you so much, Rosemary.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. So thank you, Brianna. Also, I appreciate you being here. And thank you, guides and teachers, for your support and wisdom for the Spiritual Mastery class tonight. As we close the channel, may you be blessed, comforted, empowered, and at peace in all the wonderful light you bring to the world. And so it is. Thank you for these blessings. The best way to reach me is through my website, Second Nature Healing, and Rosemary at Second Nature Healing will get to me as well. If you're not receiving these webinars and you would like to, just go to my website and find where you can fill in your information, and you'll begin to receive all of these recordings. So thank you very much for being here. I'll close this recording.